if I have a higher interest rate credit card and I'm carrying a balance, going to a place like Mountain America or credit unions that traditionally have lower interest rates on their credit cards, that is going to save me money over time. And so it's a good financial move.
Well, Eric, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to be with you.
Yeah, excited to talk about credit cards, balance transfers. It's a new year. We all want to save money. I came across kind of a little bit of a scary stat recently. Okay. Can I share that with you?
Yes.
From Wallet Hub, it says that interest rates for new credit card in 2024 are on average 22.92%.
That is a scary thought, isn't it?
So, and I mean, we know that Americans, all of us in general, are maybe carrying balances on our credit cards, right? Some maybe even maxed out after the holiday season, right? All of the things. What are we going to do here? Because paying 22% interest just seems a little ridiculous.
It is. It's challenging. Inflation has come into the market over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
We've seen interest rates go up on any type of lending, and specifically with credit cards, you'll see, like you just mentioned, after the holidays, people are looking back and they had a fun Christmas where they bought some gifts, maybe too many gifts, and they're carrying a balance, and that interest rate is a challenge for them because it makes it hard to pay down the balance over time.
Yeah. I mean, 22% interest, right? If you're paying a minimum balance, you've got that.
It's going to take a while.
You've got that with you for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's insane. Another stat here says that a third of Americans went into debt over the holiday season to a tune of $1,000 plus.
That is a challenge, and when you're talking about the interest rate and the minimum payments, I think if you apply even just a few more dollars, $10, $20, $30 a month, the amount that you're going to be paying down and the towards principal will reduce the amount that you're going to be having to pay long term. So. I think that's the challenge for a lot of people is where do you come up with the extra money to do that? But knowing that it does reduce the amount that you're going to owe over time, it's an important thing to think about as you think about your finances and your credit cards.
Yeah, especially, I actually had a high school counselor tell me this once, either you're making interest or you're paying interest. And I was like, oh, later in life, that does seem to be true. Yeah. Right. So way to go. I can't remember your name, high school counselor, but good job. But for all of us, really just focusing in and saying, hey, an extra $10 a month I can do, right? To this minimum payment on my credit card. If you can, obviously pay it off monthly. But that's obviously not what's possible for everyone right now.
Right. And, that's one of the reasons why, people go to credit cards is because they typically can't afford to pay for everything all at once. But, given the high interest rates, anytime that you can apply even, like you said, $10 towards paying that off, it does have a long-term impact to your ability to, turn to your high school counselor, use the compounding interest in your favor and not having to pay that out over time.
Yeah. Well, so let's say I'm sitting with a high balance on a high interest credit card. There's something called a balance transfer that you're going to teach us about today. What can I do with that?
So with a balance transfer, a lot of financial institutions have this where you can take an existing balance that you have. A lot of times it's going to be focused on credit cards and transfer it to a different financial institution. With a lot of circumstances, especially with a lot of the bigger financial institutions, they charge to do that. They charge to bring a balance over to their financial institution. Yeah. One of the really cool things with Mountain America is we don't have that type of fee in place. And at certain times throughout the year, we'll often run campaigns where we'll give you cash back to transfer your balance here.
Okay, awesome. So what does that look like? Why would I want to do a balance transfer?
Yeah, well, going back to what we were talking about earlier on interest rates, if I have a higher interest rate credit card and I'm carrying a balance, going to a place like Mountain America or credit unions that traditionally have lower interest rates on their credit cards, that is going to save me money over time. And so it's a good financial move.
Yeah. So if we do have high balances with high interest rates, just going into any credit union, I mean, obviously we're biased to Mountain America, but really credit unions in general will be awesome. Sit down with one of their reps and they'll make sure that, hey, this is going to be a good move for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the benefit of working with a credit union is that the idea to help and serve the members get out of, difficult financial situations is an important focus for credit unions. Specifically with Mountain America, I know that, me personally, anytime that I've gone into a branch or talked to any of our folks, they want to look at the financial situation and say, okay, how can we help you? How can we help you save money? How can we help you deal with debt in a different way?
Yeah. So walk me through this. I come into, let's say, sit down with someone. I've got we'll say 22% interest rate, right? Because that's the average. I don't want to do a balance transfer, obviously, like if it's only a few percentages lower, or would that make it worth it?
It depends on the balance. If you have a large balance, then yeah, a few percentage points does matter over time.
Okay. But one thing I'm looking for is that low rate.
Yeah. The low rate is key in all of it.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Awesome. So before choosing a balance transfer and deciding, hey, this is going to be right for me, because I think all of us, right, if we're watching this podcast, we're probably going to do some research at home, right? So what are some of those things that I want to look for before I'm ready to go in and pull the trigger?
Yeah. So interest rate would be number one. Okay. Fees associated with doing any kind of a balance transfer would be number two. I think that, looking for, give back, either in, cash back or an even lower introductory interest rate offer, okay, or even a period where there's no payment due.
Okay, awesome. So watch out for all of those things. Yeah. Okay, love that. And do you have an example of when this would be a perfect move? Like a balance transfer is in your best interest if you're in this situation.
Yeah, again, it's anytime that you're in a situation where you have a higher interest rate and you can get a lower interest rate, that's a great time to move. Anytime that you can get cash back, that would be a great move, especially because if you get cash back, you can apply it towards the balance, which is going to lower the amount that you're going to owe over time. And so if you're coming into it with the idea of I want to reduce the amount that I owe, or I want to reduce how long I'm going to have to pay on something, that is a perfect time to take a look at it.
I love that. Yeah. So if there is a promotional something, apply that towards your balance.
That's what I would do. Yes.
Yeah. I love that. Awesome. Once I've made my balance transfer to my lower rate, is there anything else that I need to consider or be mindful of?
Yeah, I think that it's important to put a plan in place. It's very easy when you have a credit card or other loans to have your mindset on autopilot that, when it comes time, I'll get notice, I'll make the minimum payment. But if you're really looking to pay things off, putting a plan in place, putting reminders in place, looking at the best way to tackle your debt.
Okay. I love that. Well, and you mentioned there may be some promotional periods, right? Uh-huh. Where if you make that balance transfer, let's say your interest rate's lower for 16 months, but then it goes up.
Right.
Right. Be mindful of those dates too.
That is very important. Yeah. You'll want to, if you get any kind of an introductory rate, you want to make sure that you include some kind of a calendar reminder, something that is going to help you make sure that you've paid things off before that hits, because what you will see is oftentimes you won't see it just jump to a normal rate. You'll see it jump to an even higher rate. Yeah.
So be mindful of some of those, ways to hook you into a balance transfer.
Right.
Right. But then be mindful too of those promotional offers. So let's say I've done this. I'm mindful of it. I've got my reminders, my payoff plans in place. I'm feeling good. Right. What do I do with that old credit card that I transferred my balance from? Is that something that I'm just see you later. I can close you now. Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, closing credit cards, before you do that, you want to make sure that you understand what that could potentially do to your credit and your credit score. I think the best advice is maybe, stick them in a drawer where you can't find them, or cut them up so you can't use them. If the idea is that you're transferring the balance to pay off the balance more quickly. Yeah,
so that you're not tempted to use them again. Okay,
yes.
That's fair. But are there any benefits to keeping those cards open?
Yeah, the way that credit scores work is that there's a calculation that includes available balance or available credit. And so, again, you'll want to make sure to understand all the ramifications of closing an account before you make the move to do that.
Yeah. So that's coming in and sitting down with someone to do that balance transfer. You can go over that at that time, and they can give you that advice. Is there any reason that you would ever want to close something out completely like that? Or is it just case by case?
I think it's case by case. It's there's too many variables to say, this is exactly when you'd want to do it. I think at the end of the day, closing it can sometimes help you be more responsible. Mm-hmm. But if you're focused on making sure you're maintaining your credit score, you have to weigh all those different factors.
Yeah. If you know you're going to need to lend money again in the future, right, then that's going to be something to consider.
Right.
Awesome. What are there, if any, common mistakes when it comes to making a balance transfer?
I think the most common mistakes are not doing your research, and then that way you don't know what you're getting into.
Sure.
We talked about some introductory offers, not understanding what the ramifications are if you don't meet or abide within those guidelines. Paying too much, getting a fee, or paying too much to transfer the balance. Not doing your research and getting into a situation where you're paying a higher interest rate would be another one. Just hopping from credit card to credit card, that can be a problem and cause you problems with credit and other issues along those lines.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things I've seen out there is, hey, 0% interest if you transfer your balance, right? But then, like you had mentioned before, there's a term that might be involved with that. So, hey, it's 18 months interest free.
All right.
But on that first day of the 19th month, just kidding, now you're paying this astronomical interest rate on the entire balance because you didn't pay it off.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Any time that you're taking on any kind of introductory offer like that, and if you don't fully understand what could happen, those 0% interest it's a great offer, and one that I think people should leverage in their depending on their circumstance. But if you aren't prepared for what is going to happen once that offer runs out, it can leave you in a worse situation than what you began with. Yeah,
I love that. So any other thoughts on why you should do a balance transfer, maybe specifically with a credit union?
Yeah, we talked about lower interest rates. Again, we're a little biased towards Mountain America, but the 3% cash back offer, being able to get that money and use it towards paying off your balance or other needs in your life, it's I think a very valuable thing and save you from interest long term. At the end of the day, we want to make sure, or in general, credit unions want to make sure that we're supporting people's financial needs, and so one of the ways of utilizing a balance transfer can help you with lowering balances, lowering payments, and increasing your ability to pay things off in a shorter time frame.
Get out of debt.
Exactly right.
I love it. Any other parting thoughts regarding balance transfers, Eric, that you have for us?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a valuable tool, and understanding your own circumstance and how you can put yourself in a better situation. A balance transfer can be a very positive tool to do that.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge with us regarding balance transfers.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great to be with you.
Yeah, and thanks all of you for joining us as well. And we will see you on the next episode of Guiding You Forward.